Good evening. I hope you're well. My name is Jerome. I am the Sane Realist. Sort of a big, exciting day. Got this skin ear cut off, I guess you could call it. And good. So now, once this heals up, I should have symmetry in my face again. And that's a positive thing. Yeah. So, by way of a life update, I have been continuing to devote myself as much as I can to the highest calling that I can picture, which is caring for and feeding those who, for whatever reason, can't feed themselves, or just anybody. It doesn't have to be a destitute individual. To feed people is my highest spiritual goal. That gets me closer to God than anything else that I can think of. It's an action. Yeah. The acts of faith are what grow faith the most. It really is true. When you give of yourself, of your time, of your energy, of your money, and really devote yourself to it, then the rewards are unspeakable. I've been doing a Monday through Thursday. Basically, I'm running the kitchen at this place called Mean Street Ministries, and they have a cafe. It's free. Anybody can come in. They have to register at the door. I think I've told this story, and they can come up and eat. And I have been making some terrific food and some extensive menus, really good stuff. Like this week, I took home a couple of pork loins and I roasted them slow all night long, and then I mixed them with a whole bunch of barbecue sauce and served that on a bun, a good fresh bun, pulled pork sandwich, $15 item at any restaurant. That macaroni and cheese. Probably were sagging a little bit on the vegetables, but the people that we're feeding want fat and they want protein and they want sugar. And man, the first week we were doing the typical numbers that we were doing, and typical number of donations of food coming in, and it was about average 40 a day, 40 people. And this week, after last week, the average has been 60, 57, 60. Today we did like 68. I don't know what exactly to attribute that to. It could be that it's getting colder. That's happening. And people are coming in more. Or it could be that food is just so good, the word has gotten around and everybody's coming in to eat. And it seems like that's the case. The days of people getting cereal, which is one of the menu things we offer. Occasionally somebody will get a bowl of cereal, but they're like, today it was Chick-fil-A. What a great Christian company. Donates huge amounts of pre-breaded, delicious Chick-fil-A chicken nuggets, fingers, sandwich pieces, which are like a half breast, to charity. Millions of pounds a year. They get it. They get the idea of the more you give, the more you get. And we got these Chick-fil-A, just bags and bags of them last week. I ran into them. I'm like, what's this? Chicken fingers? It's in a generic bag that says for donation only. And I know they've been in there for a while. And I'm like, well, let's see what we got. So I threw some in the oven and baked them up. And man, those are good. And everybody coming back 3, 4, even 5 times. And they're not throwing it away for chicken nuggets. And they sit there and good. That is the feeling that you get after a day of doing that is the feeling of getting one step closer to heaven. That's about the only word that I could use to describe the feeling. You know, it's the greatest antidepressant I've ever seen. It's serving others. Wow. You know, we are built to help each other out. We're built to carry a load. We're built to have an aim. And if we don't, then the demons creep in. And which reminds me of, I made a video earlier this week, but the audio was so terrible I had to delete it. Hopefully the audio on this one is acceptable. But, like I don't know if I told you guys, I got in a wreck on a scooter. And I got in the wreck and I was driving along. It's one of those little e-bikes, e-scooters. And I'm driving along and all of a sudden my head starts itching. And I'm like, oh man. And that little voice in my head said, you probably shouldn't just reach up right now and scratch your head. You're whipping along at top speed on this thing. And oh boy, the breaker just blew. That has happened twice now. Well, it's kind of dark and cozy, huh? So my the other louder, less sensible voice in my head said, you're going to be all right. It's just a second. And so I reached up, and as soon as I got to about here, the steering on the thing went, and I just flew. And I can think of multiple instances in my life when I've been cruising along, doing something potentially dangerous, and the big voice in my head says, you need to do this. And I hear this little voice in my head that goes, yeah, that might not be too smart. The little voice doesn't tell me what to do. The little voice tells me what not to do. That's important. And I've considered it and thought about it, and I consider the little voice in my head to be a daemon, a gentle, kind, wise guide. Okay? Wisdom, the voice of wisdom, perhaps. And the big voice is just a purely egotistic, surface, worldly voice. You really consider that to be in many ways a demon, because it's not necessarily self-destructive, but it's going to be okay. Don't worry about it. How bad could it hurt? Kind of thing. I got to say hi here to somebody. Hey man, how you doing? So, yeah, I think we all have this inner voice, the voice of reason, the voice of wisdom. It's not necessarily knowledgeable. It just sort of looks at the situation and goes, this looks like something we shouldn't be doing, or we might hurt ourselves. And sure enough, it's like always correct. And I got to admit, folks, that I have taken to really, really listening and paying heed to that little voice. And as soon as I started doing that, I found myself limiting myself and not doing it. It's almost like having a parent go, "Now, come on." No. And learning to, if you will, suppress the voice of the demon as loud as it gets. And taking that, if you will, leap of faith with that, whatever the third conscious reasoning is that decides which one I'm going to listen to, and going, okay, I'm going to listen to that, I'm not going to do that. And sure enough, over and over and over again, things are turning out perfectly. So I don't know why I made this video. Again, it's maybe just incoherent rambling, but I feel like I've got lots of these wonderful inspirations I get, and it's an epileptic thing. I'm getting these new world-shaking realizations, and then I forget them. Wow, I'd like to make a video about that. About what? What was I thinking again? Oh my gosh, again? It's okay though. In my heart, I have just a huge, huge amount of joy. More actual, real joy than I've experienced since I've had this channel. That's for sure. You know, I don't feel a need to worry or fuss or fret about environmentalism or politics or elections or worldly issues or money or any of that. I've given all of that up to God, all of it. And I feel so incredibly, utterly satisfied. It drives me to do more work. It's kind of like being in a love affair with the universe and being able to tap into that primal energy source. So another quick thing. I know I've lost about 50% of you. That's okay. I noticed when I first started serving there at the ministry that the serving sizes were real small. I even mentioned that. I'm like, wow, that's kind of a small serving size. And the way that the lady who manages the place, her attitude was, well, they can come back again. And I'm thinking the whole time, you know, give somebody enough food where they feel like they've gotten something to eat. And then they won't come back again, maybe, as much. But I mean, we're going to use the same amount of food either way. So you're saving a paper bowl and a spoon. That's the way I look at it. And so I've been loading them up, you know, like big portions you would feed your family. And they notice, and boy, they eat. And some of them come back 2 or even 3 times. But they've literally been starving. And when you give somebody a little portion of something, if you look at that from a psychological perspective, a little portion will make anybody who has some sort of decency in their heart go, they must be short on food. And then when they finish it and go, man, I'm still hungry, that was just like an appetizer. But man, I don't know, like, you know, probably it's not good to go back again. You know, some of them think that way, I'm sure. They walk back out the door hungry. Not the case lately. You know, and the worry always was on the part of the lady who manages it that, well, we only have so much food, and when we're out, and that's that. So, you know, don't get too generous because we may not have enough. My whole thing is, you know what? No. Generosity will create more of what we need. If you're generous with it and you are giving in a true way, in the spirit of somebody who's giving away something that was given to them to give to somebody else. You know, it's like muffins. You get lots and lots of muffins from Fred Meyer and I don't know if you guys got Sprouts Market, but it's like a Whole Foods, kind of a health food place, but they give us tons of bakery stuff and muffins. Yeah, they were cutting the muffins in quarters, putting a quarter of a muffin on the plate, and it's like, oh man, whole muffin, boom, here you go. You know, so we actually are going through fewer pastries now, because people are getting enough at one sitting to where they feel satisfied. And all of a sudden, the contributions, I've got 2 or 3 people a day walking into the door of the kitchen carrying big pans of food going, hey, can you use this? I'm like, oh goodness, yes, please. You know, and I've got more food than I can feed these people. Really, more food than I can actually feed them. So, and it's because of the generosity that the mission is showing to these people. I'm sure of it, that I'm in touch with God. I'm in constant contact. I talk to him day and night, and he's informed me. He's let me know, dude, Don't worry about it, because I'll be standing in the wings when you're checking out. My name is Jerome. I am the Sane Realist. And if you use the power of the energy and the power of the universe, I call it God, then there is nothing that you cannot accomplish. Have a good evening.